Let's explore whether enlightenment works or not. Welcome aboard, James. This evening's lesson is drawn from the sincere question of a good-hearted student. I just finished talking to my cousin, the original black sheep of my family. I'm the sequel. She is enlightened. I realized that relatively recently and finally just asked her gently. So I know those who are don't say and those who say aren't, but this is family safe space, so psst, hey kid, are you enlightened? And bam, she told me that she'd been enlightened for 8 years, and I asked her one of my most pressing questions. Since your attainment of enlightenment, have you felt disconnected from sheeple or more connected? Answer: alone. All caps. I don't want that, Lama J. I don't want to be enlightened and alone. Can you help me out of my fear of losing my purpose, of healing my people suffering from addiction and trauma? Sweetly. Apparently, I failed at getting the font just perfect on this page. Now I must enter my own personal hell. So let's explore. My answer will be beneficial yet annoying, as you've come to expect. Labeling is an indulgence of our controlling and elitist tendencies. I don't know what year you were born. I was born in 1965. When the crust of the earth was still cooling. And way back in the 70s, I remember Shogun being a miniseries airing on television. So I became enamored of all things Japanese. And soon I learned of the Japanese lunch tradition of the bento box. Imagine, if you will, a tray the size of a ledger, let's say 8 by 18. It has a rail about 3 inches high all around the tray. And the tray is divided into little teeny tiny squares. And you have to reach in because each square is about 3 inches deep. And it's for the ugly American barbarian, it is tremendously interesting and unique. All of us have controlling tendencies. The only question is whether or not we are aware of them, and then, of course, what we do about them. And one of the ways we seek to control our experience is through labels. For those of us who are studying meditation and are particularly enthusiastic about it, especially if we have a background of trauma and addiction and both, well, then we can sometimes indulge our controlling tendencies and scurry about the countryside asking people who seem to be rather peaceful if they're enlightened. Now, what we forget is everybody's walking around with their own definitions. This is a universal dilemma. That is why in Philosophy 101, they teach us we can have no meaningful discussion, no less debate, unless we agree on definitions first. Otherwise, we will find ourselves talking in circles. So your definition of enlightenment, the mastery of the Buddha's Eightfold Path, getting so good at the Buddha's Eightfold Path that you practice it spontaneously, habitually, easily, and effectively, might not be everybody's definition of enlightenment. Some people might call enlightenment a satori experience or an occasional experience of disassociation, perhaps deepened after years, or hopefully deepened after years, or thought to be deepened after years of koan work and Zazen. So, because someone tells you they're enlightenment, number one, doesn't mean they're honest. Number two, doesn't mean you have the same definition. And if someone tells you they're enlightened, they report an enlightened experience that is repugnant to you, remember what Robin Williams reminded us of. Everybody is waging an invisible war. We don't know what the people whom we're speaking, we don't know what they are experiencing physiologically or neurologically or psychologically. We don't know where they're coming from. In that moment, no less their whole life. And yet the problem still remains. We're enthusiastic. We look at our life and we see a 3-ring shit show. We pull our head out of our ass, look around and see everyone has a 3-ring shit show. And in our empathy, we want to help others, which is beautiful. And so we have zeal to master our liberation from the 3-ring shit show, that in turn we might liberate others. And that is what the Dalai Lama refers to as royal bodhicitta, as opposed to royal pain in the ass. That's completely different. And so here we are with the utmost of motivations and zeal. We see some people, and some people are really peaceful, or at least seem to be peaceful. Don't forget Murphy's Law of great men. Perhaps you're familiar with it. It goes like this. If you see a great man, and it looks like he's thinking great thoughts, he's most likely thinking about lunch. So just because someone looks peaceful, and sounds peaceful, doesn't mean they're peaceful. There was a wonderful movie with Gene Hackman and Keanu Reeves. I think it was called The Replacement Players. I think it came out in the early 2000s. And Gene Hackman tells the story of a duck. And he says, you look at a duck from upon the bank of a lake, and the duck looks serene. But you put on your snorkeling mask, stick your head under the water, and you see that those ducks' feet, if that's what they are just paddling super fast. So some people look more peaceful than they are because everyone's waging an invisible war. Does that mean everyone is deceitful? No. It means people are doing their best. And it's okay to cut folks slack without perhaps deifying them. So there you are, you're really enthusiastic, you want to do good, and you see someone is peaceful. You don't need to label them. You don't even need to ask them to label themselves, but you can ask them. You can say, hey, you seem really peaceful. I'm on the spiritual path myself. I'd love to ask you a couple questions, and so I can, if you feel comfortable with that. And if they say yes, say, please tell me about your spiritual practice. And they might tell you some things that are really helpful or really not helpful or tremendously vague. That's a great way to respond to others. We don't need to label others. I don't know about you, but I loved cartoons as a child, and I remember watching the Peanuts specials and how often Lucy Van Pelt was ever scurrying about the countryside with a pencil and a clipboard, and she considered herself a fuss budget. And all of us have an inner fuss budget who wants to rate people and label people and organize people, rather than simply flow from with the effortless effort of love's centered spontaneity. That's messy, and that's inaccurate, and that's inconsistent, and that's scary, but that's the path the Buddha has laid out for us. That's the path that seems to work the best, that helps us to transcend our inner shithead. Not that you're a shithead, but I sure know I have an inner shithead, and he has many apprentices. How do we rely on the Buddhist students, or those who at least think they're Buddhist students? Simple. We observe their example. We try to emulate it. We pick their brain. and try to learn from what they say. The test of their teachings is not whether or not it agrees with what we've heard before. The test of the teachings are the results we get when we attempt to apply their advice in our own life. That's it. Attempt to apply someone's advice and wind up indulging your inner shithead, then maybe that's not the best advice. Attempt to apply someone's advice and get good results, then bravo, you found yet another person you can rely upon on your journey. We all make mistakes, and those mistakes are either nails in the coffin of our self-esteem or that which build the Jenga tower of experience and wisdom. I do look forward to chanting and meditating with you after approximately 30 seconds of housekeeping. This is Lama Jigme Gyatso of the Buddha Joy Meditation School. For more than 30 years, I spent more than 8 hours a day, every day, studying, practicing, mastering, and reverse engineering the teachings and techniques of each sect of Buddhism so that you would not have to. Welcome to Meditate Like a Jedi, which is made possible due to the generosity of viewers just like you. But wait, there's more. This world is populated with many clones of Homer J. Simpson. The less we are like Homer Simpson, the less we'll be able to relate to Homer Simpson, and we might feel a trifle alienated. However, there will always be common denominators. Everybody plays a shithead, even those on the spiritual path, so we can relate to that. Everybody has relationship memories or woes, so we can relate to people on that. People have different hobbies and interests, so I can relate to geeks and nerds and dweebs. Perhaps there are people you can relate to for different special interests. People can relate to each other's worldviews or political views or favorite cuisines. If you look hard enough, there's always something you can relate to with someone else. And so, yes, I can look at myself and say, dude, I'm the only vegan, Jewish, Buddhist, sci-fi geek, 3-mile radius. But I can revert. I don't need to have such a sharp delineation. After all, I'm one of an infinite number of carbon-based life forms. I'm one of many bipedal mammals. And I'm one of many people in my neighborhood who like dogs. So there's always some common ground. Do we have to search for it meticulously? No. Remember, we are wired for the effortless effort of love's centered spontaneity. Go with the flow, and we will experience rapport. We will experience empathy, even with those who don't necessarily like us, even with those who aren't necessarily good or kind or wise. We will feel empathy. We will feel a connection, as disturbing and weird as that might sometimes be. I hope that helps. This evening, let us play with the latest iteration of Green Heroine's Easy Meditation. Yes, upon the rigid and fearful path of Devadatta, we might view Green Heroine as an entity to whom we must worship and supplicate. However, upon the path of the Buddha, we view Green Heroine as an archetype whose iconography reminds us that we are already equipped to master the Buddha's path. The following two chants will help us to exercise the neural pathways responsible for empathy and enthusiasm. The first chant is rather literal and verbose. We will set it to a quasi-triplet chant together. May I liberate all beings from the tyranny of hating, craving, and clinging by relying on the Buddha's example, instructions, and students. Same idea, more concise and more figurative. May I liberate all beings by relying on the three jewels. May I liberate all beings by relying on the three jewels. May I liberate all beings by relying on the three jewels. Together. May all master letting go in love as well as kind communication, conduct, and commerce. Un momento, por favor. Do 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 do. May all master the effortless effort of love-centered spontaneity as well as mindfulness and meditation. Let us consider mindfulness. Every time we inhale, whether we know it or not, we access a sympathetic nervous system found not within the 3-pound supercomputer between our ears. Rather, it is ensconced within the thoracic region of our spinal cord, the area that correlates with our rib cage. It evolved not to support either extreme of mind blanking or active concentration, but instead to simply notice, and to do so vulnerably, passively, viscerally, and randomly. Yes, the price of mindfulness is vulnerability. Perhaps that is why this meditation archetype is depicted as naked. Well, if we're not supposed to concentrate upon our breath, what should we do with our breath? Let's treat our breath the way a piano student treats their metronome. As we inhale, we can silently and mentally recite, perceiving this very turbulent play of mind. And as we exhale, let us silently and mentally recite, relaxing into mind's non-graspable nature. Let us contemplate the iconography of this archetype of enlightened activity. I and all living beings as excessive. Let's try this again. I and all living beings as extensive as space. Have had our crowns of white lotus and moon seeds. Well, we've already discussed during mindfulness that we're wired to notice, but what is it that we notice? We could notice sights, sounds, sensations, flavors, scents, and the like. We could notice emotions, intentions, thoughts, memories, and imaginings. We could notice the external, the internal, the physical, the mental, the pleasurable, the painful, the interesting, the boring, the glorious, and the grotesque. What should we do with that which we notice? That brings us to meditation. Every time we exhale, whether we know it or not, we inadvertently access our parasympathetic nervous system. It too is found in the spinal cord, however, this time in both the lower lumbar region as well as the tippy top of the cervical region. It has evolved to support both physical relaxation as well as mental release. Let's explore this a little bit deeper through the lens of figurative language. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever it is that we noticed during our previous inhalation could begin to feel as if it was as non-graspable as a vast, empty void. But what is a real-world example of a non-graspable, vast, empty void? How about the illusion of the infinite azure sky on a bright and beautiful cloudless morn, which, although tantalizing to the eye, is intangible to the hand? During our next few inhalations, let us silently and mentally recite sitting tall, thus reminding our body to generate a vertical traction between our tush and our head. And during our exhalation, next several exhalations, let us silently and mentally recite relaxing. Let's continue. Upon the crown's lotus and moonseed from a syllable Tama rises the octave green Tata. Her body is comprised of green light. She has 2 hands and 1 face. Her right hand resting on her right knee is in the giving mudra. Her left hand is at her heart with the ring finger and thumb pressing together, holding the stem of the blue pala flower which blossoms at her left ear. Noticing. So, now, let's rest the mind. One of the many fringe benefits of mindfulness and meditation is they act as an antidote. You see, when we are taught to concentrate and contemplate, our blood tends to pool at our amygdala, which functions as the seat of aggression and anxiety, making us rather unhappy. However, when we replace concentration with mindfulness, when we replace contemplation with meditation, then the blood shifts from the amygdala to the anterior cingulate gyrus, just a few centimeters behind our forehead. This bit of tissue functions as the hub of our mirror neurons, the seat of empathy. It is said that it is empathy and compassion and love that make us beautiful. Perhaps that is why this meditational archetype is depicted as beautiful. During our inhalation, let us silently and mentally recite, "Notice this." And during our exhalation, let us silently and mentally recite, "Relaxing." Please chant with me. She is peaceful, smiling, and fully matured, adorned with all the precious garments and ornaments. Her left foot is tucked in and her right foot is slightly extended, in preparation for the inevitability of death. On top of her head appears a Nirmanakaya form of Amitabha. Consider, if you will, how Green Tata is depicted as actively sporting in tantric union, reminding us that spontaneity trumps contrivance. Consider how her consort appears to be enjoying the same tantric union rather passively. This reminds us that not all spontaneity is created equal, and that the folly of scattered spontaneity is always trumped by the virtue of centered spontaneity. This centered spontaneity is the fringe benefit of the mindfulness and meditation of spiritual practice. When our choices, utterances, and deeds flow from the effortless effort of love's centered spontaneity, our life could be as blissful as a real or imagined Buddha's paradise. As we inhale, let us silently and mentally recite the demonstrative pronoun "this." And as we exhale, let's silently and mentally recite the one-syllable verb "ease," which functions as a synonym of relax. Having climbed to contemplative cruising altitude, together as a team, let us meditate as profoundly as Ahsoka Tano on Lothal. Let us bring the experience of the 5 bodily regions into the path of bliss and letting go, which is known by many names such as completion stage Tantra, Bindu Mahamudra, Anu Yoga, and Tikle, which is short for channels, winds, and drops. Together. As we relax into our lower abdomen, take 2. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever lower abdomen we might have noticed during our inhalation could begin to feel as non-graspable as real or imaginable, custody syllable of green light. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever navel we might have noticed during our inhalation could begin to feel as non-graspable as real or imagined, ranasambhava suitable drum of gold light. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever chest we might have noticed during our inhalation could begin to feel as non-graspable as real or imagined, nakshobhya suitable hungo blue light. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever throat we might have noticed during our inhalation could begin to feel as non-graspable as real or imagined, amitabha syllable 3 of red light. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever crown or scalp we might have noticed during our inhalation could begin to feel as non-graspable as real or imagined, Vairocana syllable of white light. There are many meditational archetypes. This one is known in Sanskrit as Samantabhadra, Samantabhadri, Karma Mudra, in Tibetan as Kunduzangpo, Kunduzangmo, Yob Yum, and in English as All Good One, Mother and Father. How are we, the All Good One? Simple. We already possess the neurological equipment necessary for the rapid and easy mastery of mindfulness, meditation, and empathy. Together, let us bring the 5 perceptions into the path of awareness and letting go, which is known by many names, including Dzogchen's Great Completion Stage, Sutra Mahamudra, Ati Yoga, and Trekcho's Slice Through the Tyranny of the Duality of Dread and Desire. Together. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever sight we might have noticed during our inhalation could begin to feel as non-graspable as a vast empty void. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever sound we might have noticed during our inhalation could begin to feel as non-graspable as a vast empty void. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever scent we might have noticed during our inhalation could begin to feel as non-graspable as a vast empty void. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever flavor we might have noticed during our inhalation could begin to feel as non-graspable as a vast empty void. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever sensation we might have noticed during our inhalation could begin to feel as non-graspable as a vast empty void. Let us bring the experience of the 4 bases of mindfulness into the conventional path of love and letting go, where it is love that is emphasized. This is known by many names, including generation or creation stage, Tantra Mahamudra, Mahayoga, or Tokal's leap over jealousy. Together. Those who tread that path of Devadatta waste time in energy chasing contrivances of visualization, emotion, magic, and belief. Upon this path of the Buddha, we simply recite these words in harmony with our breathing and allow our subconscious to do the heavy lifting. May all minds of all beings now be as peacefully wise as the mind of a real or imagined Buddha, symbolized by a tikle, one syllable seed or bija mantra. May all relationships of all beings now be as joyfully loving as a real or imagined Buddha's communication, symbolized by the sensible mantra. May all bodies of all beings now enjoy the beautiful May all bodies of all beings now enjoy the beautiful health seen in Buddhist taught, depicting the blissful body of a real or imagined Deva or Yidam, an archetype of enlightenment such as Green Tata. May all circumstances or lots of all beings now have the good fortune or boon. As a Buddha's real or imagined paradise, pure land or Vanti. Let us view letting go through a physiological lens. As we bring the experience of the four bases of mindfulness into the ultimate path of love and letting go, where it is letting go that is emphasized, whereby we leap over pride. Those who tread that, those who path blah, blah. Those who tread that path of devata caught in the thrall of rigidity confuse metaphors with four literal statements. Upon this path of the Buddha, we relax into flexibility, savoring the chance that explain these metaphors as similes. As we inhale, all circumstances or lots could appear quite vivid. Yet as we relax into our exhalation, they could feel as non-graspable of what is a real or imagined paradise or vati of light. As we inhale, all bodies or forms could feel quite sensual. Yet as we relax into our exhalation, they could feel as not graspable of what is a real or imagined archetypal yidam of light. As we inhale, the interpersonal experience of communication or speech could sound quite resounding. Yet as we relax into our exhalation, it could feel as not graspable of what is a real or imagined mantra of light. As we inhale, we could notice all minds, perceptions, emotions, intentions, cognitions, recollections, and imaginings quite clearly. Yet as we relax into our exhalation, they could feel as non-graspable of what is a real or imagined bija seeds of light. Let us view letting go through a philosophical lens, as we bring the illusion of the horizontal duality of us and them into the dance of impermanence and interdependence known as Madhyamaka's yoga of inconceivability. All circumstances or lots could be as impermanent and interdependent as if they could blissfully melt into rainbow light that could absorb into this body or form. All bodies or forms could be as impermanent and interdependent as if they could blissfully melt into rainbow light that could absorb into this communication or speech. All interpersonal speech could be as impermanent and interdependent as if it could blissfully melt into a rainbow light that could absorb into this mind. All minds could be as impermanent and interdependent, as if they could blissfully melt into a rainbow light that could absorb into our vast empty void. Like the illusion of the infinite sky, like the illusion of the infinite azure sky on a bright and beautiful cloudless morn, which, although tantalizing to the eye, could be not graspable to the hand. Let us chant the Dharani explaining this mantra's meaning. O Mama Chandara, swift and courageous, you drive away all fears with Tutare's meditation. Heroine fulfilling all aids with today's mindfulness, thus with a suitable soha, may it be so. For the remainder of this evening's live stream, let us bring the spontaneous play of mind into the path of awareness and letting go, which is known by many names, including Dzogchen's Great Completion Stage Tantra, Sutra Mahamudra, Anti-Yoga, and Trekcho's Slice Through the Tyranny of the Duality of Dread and Desire. Oops, here we go. So to make the most of this mantra meditation, during the inhalation, please silently and mentally recite this italicized bit. And during the exhalation, please physically relax as best you can while striving to chant these 10 syllables 4 times per breath. Om Tare Tare Suwa, 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 Om Tare Tare Suwa. Om Tare Tare Suwa, 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 Om Tare Tare Suwa. Welcome to this evening's live stream. The moment you have a specific question about Buddhist meditation, Buddhist chanting, Buddhist philosophy, or how to apply them, please type your question in great detail in the chat window. The most efficient way to practice perceptive mindfulness is to silently and mentally recite the demonstrative pronoun this during each inhalation. The most efficient way to practice releasing meditation is to silently and mentally recite the one syllable verb ease, which functions as a synonym of relax during each exhalation. During our inhalation, let us silently and mentally recite this italicized phrase, relax into this. This refers to whatever we experience in the present moment, vulnerably, passively, viscerally, and randomly. We could experience a sight, a sound, a sensation, a flavor, a scent, or the like. We could experience an emotion, an intention, a thought, a memory, or an imagining. We could experience the external, the internal, the physical, the mental, the pleasurable, the painful, the interesting, the boring, the glorious, and the grotesque. During our exhalation, let us physically relax as best we can, while striving to chant these 10 syllables 4 times per breath. Om da de do da de do de so wa. Om da de do da de do de so wa. Om da de do da de do de so wa. Om da de do da de do de so wa. Give yourself permission to have a learning curve. Play with this once every 12 hours or so, and by the end of the week, it could be old hat. Om da de do da de do de so wa. Om da de do da de do de so wa. Om da de do da de do de so wa. Om da de do da de do de so wa. Om da de do da de do de so wa. Om da de do da de do de so wa. Om da de do da de do de so wa. Om da de do da de do de so wa. Om da de do da de do de so wa. Om da de do da de do de so wa. Om da de do da de do de so wa. Om da de do da de do de so wa. Om Dane Nane Nuri Suwa, Om Dane Nane Nuri Suwa, Om Dane Nane Nuri Suwa, Om Dane Nane Nuri Suwa. Om Dane Nane Nuri Suwa, Om Dane Nane Nuri Suwa, Om Dane Nane Nuri Suwa, Om Dane Nane Nuri Suwa. Om Dane Nane Nuri Suwa, Om Dane Nane Nuri Suwa, Om Dane Nane Nuri Suwa, Om Dane Nane Nuri Suwa. Om Dane Nane Nuri Suwa, Om Dane Nane Nuri Suwa, Om Dane Nane Nuri Suwa, Om Dane Nane Nuri Suwa. Welcome to this evening's live stream. The most efficient way to practice perceptive mindfulness is to silently and mentally recite the demonstrative pronoun during each inhalation. Likewise, the most efficient way to practice releasing meditation is to silently and mentally recite the one-syllable verb ease during each exhalation. Whoops, wrong button. Sorry, kids. To get the most out of mantra meditation, during the inhalation, let us silently and mentally recite, relaxing into this. This is whatever we notice vulnerably, passively, viscerally, randomly, non-conceptually. During our exhalation, let us physically relax as best we can while striving to chant these 10 syllables 4 times per breath. Om Dane Nane Nuri Suwa, Om Dane Nane Nuri Suwa, Om Dane Nane Nuri Suwa, Om Dane Nane Nuri Suwa. Do please give yourself permission to have a learning curve. Om Dane Nane Nuri Suwa, Om Dane Nane Nuri Suwa, Om Dane Nane Nuri Suwa, Om Dane Nane Nuri Suwa. Om Dane Nane Nuri Suwa, Om Dane Nane Nuri Suwa, Om Dane Nane Nuri Suwa, Om Dane Nane Nuri Suwa. Om Dane Nane Nuri Suwa, Om Dane Nane Nuri Suwa, Om Dane Nane Nuri Suwa, Om Dane Nane Nuri Suwa. Om Dani Nani Nuni Suwa, Om Dani Nani Nuni Suwa, Om Dani Nani Nuni Suwa, Om Dani Nani Nuni Suwa. Om Dani Nani Nuni Suwa, Om Dani Nani Nuni Suwa, Om Dani Nani Nuni Suwa, Om Dani Nani Nuni Suwa. Om Dani Nani Nuni Suwa, Om Dani Nani Nuni Suwa, Om Dani Nani Nuni Suwa, Om Dani Nani Nuni Suwa. Om Dani Nani Nuni Suwa, Om Dani Nani Nuni Suwa, Om Dani Nani Nuni Suwa, Om Dani Nani Nuni Suwa. Welcome to this evening's live stream. The most efficient way. So here we go. Every time we inhale, whether we know it or not, we access our sympathetic nervous system, which is wired to merely notice, vulnerably, passively, viscerally, and randomly. The easiest way to take advantage of that is to silently and mentally recite the demonstrative pronoun this during each inhalation. Similarly, during each exhalation, whether we know it or not, we are wired to access our parasympathetic nervous system, which supports physical relaxation and mental release. We take advantage of that. We allow our brain to harmonize with our autonomic nervous system by silently and mentally reciting the one-syllable verb ease during each exhalation. The most efficient way to make the most of mantra meditation is this. During the inhalation, please silently and mentally recite this italic statement. During the exhalation, please physically relax as best you can while striving to chant these 10 syllables 4 times per breath. Om Dani Nani Nuni Suwa, Om Dani Nani Nuni Suwa, Om Dani Nani Nuni Suwa, Om Dani Nani Nuni Suwa. Om Dani Nani Nuni Suwa, Om Dani Nani Nuni Suwa, Om Dani Nani Nuni Suwa, Om Dani Nani Nuni Suwa. Om Dani Nani Nuni Suwa, Om Dani Nani Nuni Suwa, Om Dani Nani Nuni Suwa, Om Dani Nani Nuni Suwa. Om Dani Nani Nuni Suwa, Om Dani Nani Nuni Suwa, Om Dani Nani Nuni Suwa, Om Dani Nani Nuni Suwa. Dare nu nane nu re so wa. 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 Welcome to this evening's live stream. Every time we breathe in, whether we know it or not, we access a sympathetic nervous system ensconced within the thoracic region of our spinal cord. It has evolved not to support either extreme of mind blanking or active concentration, but instead to simply notice vulnerably, passively, viscerally, and randomly. To allow our brain to align itself intentionally with our sympathetic nervous system. During each inhalation, we could silently and mentally recite the demonstrative pronoun this. Similarly, during each exhalation, we are wired to access the parasympathetic nervous system ensconced within the lower lumbar region as well as the tippy top of the cervical region of that same spinal cord. It evolved to support both physical relaxation as well as mental release. And the way we align our brain intentionally with our parasympathetic nervous system is to silently and mentally recite the one-syllable verb ease during each exhalation. The most efficient way to make the most of our mantra meditation is to silently and mentally recite this italicized phrase during our inhalation. During our exhalation, we can physically relax as best we can, whilst striving to chant these 10 syllables 4 times per breath. Dare nu nane nu re so wa. 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 Om Dare Du Nane Nure Sowa, Om Dare Du Nane Nure Sowa, Om Dare Du Nane Nure Sowa, Om Dare Du Nane Nure Sowa. Om Dare Du Nane Nure Sowa, Om Dare Du Nane Nure Sowa, Om Dare Du Nane Nure Sowa, Om Dare Du Nane Nure Sowa. Om Dare Nu Nane Nure Sowa, Om Dare Nu Nane Nure Sowa, Om Dare Nu Nane Nure Sowa, Om Dare Nu Nane Nure Sowa. Om Dare Nu Nane Nure Sowa, Om Dare Nu Nane Nure Sowa, Om Dare Nu Nane Nure Sowa, Om Dare Nu Nane Nure Sowa. Om Dare Nu Nane Nure Sowa, Om Dare Nu Nane Nure Sowa, Om Dare Nu Nane Nure Sowa, Om Dare Nu Nane Nure Sowa. Om Dare Nu Nane Nure Sowa, Om Dare Nu Nane Nure Sowa, Om Dare Nu Nane Nure Sowa, Om Dare Nu Nane Nure Sowa. Om Dare Nu Nane Nure Sowa, Om Dare Nu Nane Nure Sowa, Om Dare Nu Nane Nure Sowa, Om Dare Nu Nane Nure Sowa. Om Dare Nu Nane Nure Sowa, Om Dare Nu Nane Nure Sowa, Om Dare Nu Nane Nure Sowa, Om Dare Nu Nane Nure Sowa. Om Dare Nu Nane Nure Sowa, Om Dare Nu Nane Nure Sowa, Om Dare Nu Nane Nure Sowa, Om Dare Nu Nane Nure Sowa. Om Dare Nu Nane Nure Sowa, Om Dare Nu Nane Nure Sowa, Om Dare Nu Nane Nure Sowa, Om Dare Nu Nane Nure Sowa. Together. May all minds be as wise as taught us, may all speech be as loving as taught us. May all forms be as healthy as taught us, and may all lots be as fortunate as taught us. May every meditation teacher truly understand the Buddha's teachings, and practice master as well as instruct them generously, lovingly, and wisely in the manner of centered spontaneity. May all meditation teachers spontaneously receive generous patrons, enthusiastic students, as well as devoted apprentices. And may many Dharma centers likewise be successfully planted, nurtured, and supported. If you feel that I have earned it, you could give this live stream a thumbs up. You could even help support this channel. In approximately 10 2/3 hours, I would very much like to return to lead tomorrow's early meditation class and group practice. And if you are as geeky as me, may the Force be with you always.